Hey guys, Telegram Sam here. If you don't already know, I have an Instagram. It's telegram_Sam_vinyl. So if you're on Instagram, check me on there. But today's video, I am going to be showing and talking about my 5 favorite vinyl releases of 2022. A little disclaimer, of course, I didn't listen to every single record that came out in 22 or bought every single record that came out in 2022. This is just from the little stack of stuff I got this year. And of course, I'm not the definitive person when it comes to the best music of 2022. And I honestly mainly spend a lot of my money on older, used records, which will be another video about my favorite finds of 2022, used records and such. Because new records are so expensive, it's hard for me to justify spending $40 on a new record when I could usually get 2 or 3 good older records for that same amount of money. So of course this isn't a complete definitive list of what I think the best albums are, but this is just from what I picked and from what I bought that came out this year. So don't get too offended, just my opinion. You can make your own video about your own favorite videos or favorite records that came out this year. But let's get into it. These aren't in any particular order. The first 4 are just records I really love this year, but I saved the best for last. I generally do think this is, at least for me, my all-time favorite record that came out this year. It's so good. But yeah, I'll save that one for the last one. First off, I'm going to show A Light for Attracting Attention by The Smile. Alt-rock, indie rock, electronic. This is the debut album from the sort of supergroup band that's made up of Tom York and Johnny Greenwood from Radiohead, and then it features Tom Skinner from the jazz band Sons of Kemet on here. It's really great. It's essentially like a Radiohead record, but with a different band name. Really, really good. I think I said this in the video or the recent vinyl pickups video when I first showed this, that it reminded me a lot of Goblin. I believe Tom York had just recently done the soundtrack for the remake of Suspiria, and I don't know, it just reminds me a lot of Goblin. Just the very heavy bass, but with a very light sort of electronic keyboards up here. I don't know. It just still reminds me of that, but in a very Radiohead, Tom York, Johnny Greenwood way. It's really, really good. If you haven't listened to it, stream it, check it out, however you prefer listening to music. So great. And this is just a really nice, heavy duty, really, really well made and designed. And I got the one that's on the 108 gram yellow vinyl. I think they did a couple different color variants and whatnot. And next up, we have one that I saw a lot of people giving a lot of love for, which I was really glad about because I love this band, love everyone that's a part of it. This is Free LSD by Off. Punk rock, experimental psych, 3rd studio album from the band. This is the first album with the new members Autry Fulbright II on bass and Justin Brown on drums, who I believe both played for Thundercat, who I love. And then of course you have Keith Morris doing vocals, and I'm forgetting who the guitar player is, I'm sorry. But this is such a great album. Of course, as soon as I saw Off was putting out a new album, I immediately pre-ordered it without really thinking about it or thinking about what it would be, just thinking, oh, it's just gonna be some great punk hardcore, like the usual stuff they've done in the past. But this is like nothing they've done in the past. Of course, it has the usual punk and hardcore bass notes, but it really goes out there in like psychedelic, jazz, freeform, experimental. It's just like nothing I've ever heard before, especially from a punk or hardcore band. I honestly think this is the greatest thing Off has ever done. It's just, you just have to check it out and hear it for yourself. And I really loved how the insert is actual acid blotter paper. I don't know if you can see that, but the little tabs, which is a nice little touch. I know they released a lot of different limited color variants. I think I got the smoky pink one, and I got the one that came from their Bandcamp that came with the signed print, which was really cool. But yeah, such a great album. Get it in whatever form you can, however you listen to your records, or albums. Such a killer album. Next up, this one's kind of cheating since it technically came out last year. I believe it came out in November 2021, but the record didn't come out until summer of this year, so it technically abides by the rules. But this is An Evening with Silk Sonic by Silk Sonic. R&B, soul, funk, first album from the super duo of Bruno Mars and Anderson .Paak. I remember when I heard the single for Leave the Door Open, I was sold. I am usually not one for Bruno Mars's work. He was just so overplayed when I was in middle school and high school. And I'm not really familiar with Anderson .Paak's work, but as soon as I heard the single Leave the Door Open, I just fell in love with it. It just had this 70s soul funk groove that I just love, and I was so excited about the album, and I waited until the record came out because that's just how I prefer listening to albums in full, is just on record. And yeah, it just doesn't disappoint. It's just such a fun record to dance to, just to not really think about. It's just, I mean, I love 70s era soul and funk, and you can really hear their love for it. You can definitely hear the Curtis Mayfield influence, obviously the Bootsy Collins influence. Bootsy Collins gave them the name Silk Sonic and does some little narration bits throughout the album, and Parliament Funkadelic. It's just everything I love and look for, and it obviously has its modern contemporary R&B, hip-hop, pop influences as well. But yeah, such a great, fun record. I believe they release these everywhere. Walmart did their own exclusive version, and I believe they did maybe a indie record store exclusive version. But yeah, such a great, fun record. I don't care who you are or how great you think your taste is. If you say you don't like this record, you're lying. Just to put it bluntly. Such a great record. Next up, we have Heavy Rocks from Boris. I believe this was the third album they put out this year. They always have been they usually release like at least one, if not two or three records a year since like the 90s. I believe they formed in like 1994. But they're always putting out great stuff. A lot of people compare them to King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard, which I think it should be the other way around. I think King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard should be compared to them because they've been doing it a lot longer than those guys have. But this is hard rock, punk, stoner rock, experimental, the 28th studio album from the Japanese band, and this is the third Boris album with the name Heavy Rocks, and it's just dedicated to their love of heavy metal and hard rock, specifically of the 70s, and you can definitely hear that influence, plus, the Boris usual experimental electronic craziness that they do. Really every album from them is always so different, but always so amazing. They just never disappoint, and definitely check them out if you just want to have your mind blown by some crazy sounds. They're just awesome. And they're a trio, but they sound so much bigger than that. Anyways, last but not least, my all-time favorite release of this year, and I really owe a huge thank you to Dave, aka the VC ambassador. Go check out his channel. He's introduced me to so many great bands and records, whether it's through his videos or he DMs me stuff on Instagram. And he actually DM'd me a 10-second track from this album. He's like, hey, I listened to this, I think you would really like it. And I heard the first 2 seconds and I immediately bought the record. I was like, it's like someone cracked open my brain and found all the music I love and made a record out of it. It's crazy how tailored this album is to what I love about music. But this is Bits and Pieces by Piece de Resistance. Glam, post-punk, punk. It kind of has some gothy things to it, but this is the first studio album from the band. I'm actually not even sure if it's a band. The only information I could find about it is that the singer is Mose Brown, but again, I don't know if he's just the singer, if he played the instruments on this. I couldn't really find anything about this record, but Mose Brown is in some influential Austin punk bands called, I think one's called Institute is one, and then Glue is the second one, but this is another side project he did from those bands, but it's so fucking good. I mean, if you're like me and you love the Stooges, even like Iggy Pop's later 70s stuff, David Bowie's later 70s stuff, the Berlin era stuff, T-Rex, Bauhaus. This is your jam. There's even a little bit of like the early 90s Depeche Mode, I would say, throughout here. Is so good. Yeah, I cannot rave about this enough. It is my all-time favorite record from this year, and I probably, in my next songs I've been obsessed with, I'll probably play a track from this record, because there's so many good ones that I've been jamming to lately, as I've been sort of re-listening to a lot of records that came out this year to really fine-tune this list. And I knew as soon as I heard that this was going to be my favorite release of 2022, but I just wanted to make sure. But yeah, so good. You can find these for super cheap. I think you can find them on Discogs for $20, and I believe they might still be on the Piece de Resistance Bandcamp. But so good. Check it out, stream it if you can. I don't know if you can stream it. I believe there's also they have songs on YouTube, so there's no excuse. Go check out this album if you liked all the bands I explained that they sound like. But yeah, those were my 5 favorite records released in the year of 2022. Let me know some of your favorites down below, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.